your best and worst parts of your life play out in the public eye. And it's like, oof, that's where it starts getting dangerous. So you really have to have that. And this is someone like me who's read a lot of the books and trained coach, certified coach. But when your subconscious is kicking in, it's a dangerous thing. And having that supportive network is so important. I like roles that kind of scare me a little bit. It's like, fuck, how am I going to pull this off?
People are giving you the best tables at restaurants, and then all of a sudden, a bit of drama starts happening in the media. Welcome to Breaking the Algorithm podcast. We've got a very special guest today. You may know this man from shows like Home and Away, Power Rangers, SAS Australia, but most, of course, famously from Change Labs. We have none other than Dan Ewing.
Hello, mate. It's hello. I'm so glad the office is here. After the cyclone, I was really worried. Everything you see in the media, I thought, right. I was like, Andy, are you alive? Are you here? But it's okay. We've done a mental health check. We're here. It's okay. Safety.
Wet and wild, my friend. We had a power outage. We were out of power for a little bit, so that's all right. So 20 minutes, but we're all good. We were fine. So thank you for making it up here amongst all of that craziness.
Oh, it was funny. I'm sure you feel the same way. Isn't it funny that like people didn't learn from COVID? I was like, I used to got these little old ladies who can't buy bread or...
Well, I think I saw in the Daily Mail, there's footage of you running out of the supermarket with 20 packets of toilet paper. Wasn't that you?
There's a lady I saw on Instagram was great. She took the piss. She was like getting toilet paper rolls and like chalking her doorway with them for the floods. And this is like, you know, and it's like walk out the front of your place or mine because obviously we're in Queensland and obviously the cyclone's a real thing. But it's just wild to me that like, I thought COVID people would have learned, but you see like still this panic buying shit that goes on. Oh, yeah. And it's like, I thought maybe post-COVID people would learn, whether it's through internal shame or you go, all right, I didn't really need to do all that. Yeah. Fucking no.
No. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. People just have that panic reaction and think about those poor old ladies that can't get there.
That's what
They get to the supermarket. There's nothing left for them.
Because there's no like, you know how it is. They go and they'll still get their cash out at the bank. You know, they'll go to the supermarket. Mm-hmm. And when they do, that's their little thing. And good on them too, because it stretches their legs. And there's little old ladies who can't, you know, like just the other day, I was like a little old lady just pulling up. I think I'd just done something at the post office. It was raining. There's a big puddle and I could see her daughter was trying to get out. So I helped this little old lady just to get out of the car. And I was just thinking, you just don't realize these like members of pillars of society have done so much for us. And then people just like, fuck up, like they don't get their bread or their toilet paper.
Yeah, exactly right.
So we're going to get cancelled on your podcast for swearing. I apologize. Hopefully that's my goal. Whenever I do a podcast.
My viewers, fans, they love a bit of swearing. Don't worry. We're all in it.
But thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate it.
Man, it's an honor, privilege. I'm glad to have you on here. And it's going to be great because a lot of people know who you are, but maybe they don't know your backstory and a little bit about your psychology and how you got to where you are today. And so what a great opportunity, man, to dig into all of these factors, huh?
And share it with your great fan base.
Absolutely. That's right. Breaking the algorithm.
What's your algorithm like on, you know, mine's
scary. You don't want to get into my algorithm.
You get half of, I'm that friend that Andy always sends me these great, that one friend that sends you 60 reels.
Look, I'm literally trying to get through the last 30 memes you've sent.
I've got to apologize to all of the beautiful fans out there, and your employees, because I think I take up too much of your time with funny memes.
Well, that's right. I think that's one of the problems with being a famous actor. You got too much time to send memes to people all day long.
Scripts. Oh, Andy will like this one.
Exactly. But anyway, we enjoy it. It's part of your personality. We love it. But man, why don't we start off and rewind the clock? Because I want to get into a lot of stuff today and learn more about you behind the scenes. You know. But why don't we start with how you grew up and then how you got into the acting space? Because you killed the game. You've been in so many noteworthy movies, TV shows, and you're only really scratching the surface of what you're going to do. I know that's for sure.
Yeah.
But how did it all start for you? Give us a rundown.
Well, super quick with my childhood. So I'm one of four. I'm the oldest of four. You know the responsibility when you're the oldest. I grew up in a little place called Forestville in Sydney's north. Born in Manly Hospital for everybody playing at home. I would call it like a real standard working class sort of family. Dad was a butcher, and so all his brothers, and my mum, who's no longer with us, God rest her soul, was a pathologist. So Dad would work all these days out in the abattoirs at Homebush, and then Mum would do nights doing pathology. So I obviously got her brains. Oh, brains over it. Yeah, sorry, Dad. No, well, Dad was actually an accountant, so he did a lot of the accounts, but also worked the family business. And cut to the beautiful thing called the 2000 Olympics. They took a big payout to go and sort of move away from, and I'm not shelling this, move away from their big abattoir business they had and put it all into this sort of deluxe butcher shop. But, this is before internet and all those sorts of things. And then these poor buggers, they put all this money and they're all earning decent coin, still working hard and whatever. But this is around the time that all the supermarkets put in the butcher shops, right? Mm-hmm. And you know how it is. You're a busy guy. So how much easier is it to go to Coles and get your steak or your chicken or whatever than going to the local butcher or the local grocer? And their businesses went because it's in Sydney. It's like it's too busy, and everybody who knows and works in these big cities at home, you can forgive people, especially with kids and ballet and sport and all that sort of stuff. You can understand why people made that choice to do the one-stop shop. Obviously not great for butchers. So Dad came out of it quite well because he's an accountant. He's an accountant now with a science company or what have you. But it's a fascinating time for small business for sure.
Yeah, totally. It would have been crazy. How did your family handle that? Was it would it rock the system first?
No, now looking back at it, and you can see the struggles a lot of Australian families go through. And I can imagine, I haven't spoken about this, but like a pride thing, because it's like you go from doing well and Dad was at uni, he's an accountant, and then all of it, and the business is doing well. And then all of a sudden it plummets so fast, and I think one of his brothers ended up working in Australia Post, nothing wrong with that, but now doing some night sorting or whatever. But now the AI and machines and these things are going to be sorting your mail, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure my phone does it. Moves things in my house without me knowing, but it's like, it's certainly a fascinating time of being, and like what you've been able to do with your business is adapt, because things are constantly changing and it feels like things are changing so rapidly, especially in the entrepreneurial game, and just to be able to adapt and not accept that, no, this is the way it is, or this is the trend at the moment, not making that your story. I find that fascinating,
Yeah, very true. And your beautiful mother's name was Catherine, just like Catherine Mary. So funny story for all the viewers out there. Both Big Dan and my mother both have Catherine Mary as their name.
As their names. And it's, look, and again, I call it cosmically thread or whatever it is, but I believe you and I are in each other's lives for a reason. And that was just sort of like, it's just, and even the similarities with, your dad's no longer with us and my mum's no longer with us. There's a lot of similarities, both handsome.
That's right. Exactly.
Both work. So I'm in the summer uniform for everyone at home, and that's the winter uniform.
I know. I wanted to thank you for bringing the guns out today for us all. Surely we're going to get the most views on this video because of your guns.
That's right. No, but after a big training session with you and, for everyone playing at home, before a podcast guest comes on, they have to pass the workout test with you. And, and then you leave and you'll do a call and you watch to see if they're like still training. And it's, he doesn't need to have his hand held. He's getting it in. Good job.
Exactly. If they survive that.
Yeah. I mean, I need to look at myself in the mirror as much as I did at the gym, but, it's like duty call.
That's right. It's all good. We'll forgive you. So you grew up in Sydney, your family, of course, working class, you had the butcher, your mum was working pathology. What did you learn from your parents back then about work ethic and just values in general, like being around those two hardworking, incredible individuals?
Fascinating time, isn't it? I think especially in that sort of 80s and 90s and how different it is now. Before it was like, no, you go to uni, you get a good job, 9 to 5, and that's it. But as we know now with income and the Bezoses of the world and then our friend Steve Jobs over there, you don't make money by exchanging your time. You make money by providing service. So I use Bezos as an example for Amazon and all these sorts of things. It's like there's something for everyone on there. Now you see all these other websites popping up like your Temus and all that sort of stuff, providing great service and value for people, something you've certainly passed on, which I find fascinating. But what it did do, not to digress, is just the work ethic of hardworking Aussie and Kiwis and everybody around the world, families just to keep food on the table. And now it's fascinating. You see, 18-year-olds getting their ass out on TikTok who are now millionaires. It's just crazy. I don't subscribe to any of that, but you know what I mean? It's like
you don't have a private OnlyFans channel at all?
I did joke that I should start like an Only Dance. It's not, there's nothing sexy about it. It's like, here I am again.
Maybe it's with the board shorts on. I'm sure you get a lot of
ladies on through the line. I don't have Snapchat anymore, but it's like, when Snapchat first comes out, and there's always that one mate who's like on the toilet going, "G'day, boys, just having a break at work," and all that sort of stuff. But it's great.
So do you feel like the learning or seeing that with the family, the work ethic that they had, do you feel like that's really been a huge catalyst and help for you in regards to where you are today?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's something that like some people have and some people don't. Like not being able to sit still. Fishing is the only thing I can do sitting still because I'm still actively doing something. I get like, I'm fine in my own company, but like I like just having like stuff to do, even if it's just going for a walk or just something. Otherwise, like I don't mind the whole relaxing at night or watching a great series or something like that. But yeah, there's that sort of ingrained ambition and all that sort of stuff. And for me, the honest answer is, it's like, how do you walk that tightrope as a male, right? And I find that very fascinating because it's like, I think the world wants alpha males. They want leaders. But that quickly it's like the tightrope between ego, intention, and then ego, ambition, and intention. Obviously, ego people don't usually like, and we can both speak from it. When you're operating out of ego, it's not usually in your highest good, but sometimes you need a little bit of ego if you're on the sports paddock or whether it's in business or succeed. But when it's that fine line I'm talking about, and it starts affecting you negatively, you start not being grateful for things, not appreciating the little wins. And then ambition and willpower, a lot of athletes get tripped up on that because it's I will, it's still separate from me. But intention is that highest good, and you align with that, and it feels peaceful. It feels better in your body. So I find it easier to adapt the beliefs, behaviors, and actions of that person rather than the forcing thing. And that's just me. Some people like love willpower. They love having their back against the wall because it's like, let's go. But yeah, ego for me, it's never served me like for a long period of time. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. And do you I will speak a little bit more about how that influenced your growth and career, but before we get to that, I'm curious, being an actor and at the level you are now, was that always your dream? Did you have this dream as a kid, or how did it all start?
No, I fell into it backwards. A big athlete in school, I was a sports captain. I was an athletics team, swimming, basketball, whatever it was. That sounds like I was a great athlete right from the word go, but I was terrible until puberty. It was like, I was
seeing you on the basketball court. I got an improvement there, but that's all right.
Amazing. But I was always really good, even back then, because like I'm 6 foot, that's not tall for a basketball player. And I started late. So a sport like basketball, you got to find other ways to contribute to winning. So for me, it's when Dennis Rodman was like, everyone talks about Jordan and Scottie Pippen, but Dennis Rodman made a career of just going, getting every fucking loose ball, every rebound. People thought he was psychotic, but what he was doing is adding value. That's his value. Maybe he didn't need to be, with Carmen Electra on a 4-day bender in a hotel room. Good on him. But they're sending Jordan to get, hey, we've got game six of the finals or whatever it is. But because his value was so high and he just did his job, he'd turn up. And there's all these funny stories of him like post game, literally on a treadmill after a full game, like running in army boots and shit like that. Like he's nuts, but like, so my athletic career was kind of like that. Coming in, it's like, okay, cool. He's the scorer. He's played for 10 years. That's his job. Where's the holes? I was always really good at that. I find now, even just coaching, my son's 10, kids all want to be the stars straight away. And like I speak to one of my guys who didn't make a rep team, and I was speaking to him about it. I was like, well, what value can you add? Like they've got their scorers, right? So you're trying to break into this rep team you've never made before. Kid's obviously upset. One of his kids is 10, of course, they're disappointed. That's great because you need to feel that disappointment. You don't get to win all the time. But I was like, okay, well, how many assists did you get? An assist, for everyone who doesn't know basketball, is when you're making that great pass and then the other guy scores, or you're setting up an offense or pulling down a loose rebound or getting a steal. That's adding value to your team. And side note, coaches love that stuff, So where are you adding value to your team, right? And I think that's why sport and athletics is such a great thing to do for kids. And you don't have to be amazing, even if it's dancing or whatever it is. It's like going into something new that I think it's great when you suck initially.
Yeah, you have to say. You got to read it.
And it's like, but what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
You know, are you going to go on your shell and like, eh? So if some guys like, I'm like, I can't figure out how to stop this scoring, you know, how do I, it's like, but that's the challenge, you know, how do you do that? And you come back, it's like, it's, you know, I'm definitely, there's a saying, I might butcher it, but I think it's comfort is the devil's playground. I just know I am the poster child for that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of why I'm always like, okay, like if I'm lifting weights in the afternoon, I've got basketball at night, I'll still go for a morning walk or do something, listen to an enriching podcast or something along those lines. I'm definitely a doer. I'm not great just sitting there doing fuck all. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I definitely know that about you. Absolutely. So the vision then, or the dream at that age, was that to be a pro athlete, or did you?
Yeah, look, no, sorry. I digress a bit, but so the acting stuff, I kind of fell into that backwards with, I think I got put on detention, to be honest with you, in high school. And I think they needed like the music teacher, because that was never my strong suit. And my brain was like, ancient history, love that stuff, rip into it. But with that sort of thing, it was, I think I turned up and then all boys school. So you do your musicals with the neighboring girls' school. Now I'm missing. I was never a great singer, but to be honest with you, like obviously having the girls there was one thing, and then I just kind of fell in love with it backwards. And you go from, and obviously, please don't be offended by this, but like back in those days, and we're the same age, gay. Oh, that's gay. That's gay. That was a word, right? That was a derogatory term. And then I had all my mates come and watch, and then they do the backstage tour. And this is like the girls, it wasn't like, everyone gets their individual change room. This is high school theater. So everyone's just changing. Right? So where do the chicks get changed? There. Where do you get changed? Over there.
All of a sudden, they were like, oh, this is cool. I'm joining.
This is the thing. But it's, but I absolutely fell in love with it right then and there. I kind of shelved it for a bit because for the HSC, so the certificate you do in New South Wales, it's much more theory based, which I was like, like I get it, but it was just the doing it that I fell in love with. It's kind of like with a lot of the athletic stuff. So I was a great swimmer. I love the racing aspect of it, but staring at that black line in the outdoor Dawn Fraser pool in Sydney at 5 a.m, I was like, I got it. It was great, but it was the racing part of it that really, puts lead in your pencil. That's a good term, isn't it? Yeah, a bit of lead.
Totally. So you had that competitive drive always like that, which obviously works in business, in acting, in the business of acting, and also in sports.
And being okay, like the word like failure or loss or whatever, I think that's why it's great when you don't have to be like in the gym 7 days a week, but the word failure is a sexy word when you're lifting weights. Because if you're not going till failure, you've got more in the tank, your muscles aren't adapting and all that sort of stuff. So it's like going to the point of exhaustion where your muscles literally can't do any more. It's called failure. Someone else's failure, they're in their shell. You fail at the gym, you're like, yeah, fuck. Like I just went over my rep max. Oh yeah, that was a great set, or whatever it is. If you're doing a HIIT workout or whatever it is, if you go to absolute exhaustion, that's when the new barriers are, because then your brain goes, oh, you're capable of more, because our brain's trying to stop us.
Well, that's what breaking the algorithm's all about. It's that reframing of the limits that most people have in their daily life, which clearly, I mean, I've seen you use that reframing in so much of what you do over the years that we've known each other. Like your efforts in SAS and even how you attack acting and the business of that. And we'll get to more of that shortly. But again, that mindset clearly served you from being an athlete into falling in love with acting, and then, of course, to commit to it full time. So you fell in love with acting, not only because the girls are getting changed near you, but you love the art, you love the process. That's right. Sorry, Daily Mail, everyone else, catchphrase. But you fell in love with it, and then what made you commit to it? Because liking something, but being obsessed enough to go to Hollywood and get on Home and Away, it's a completely different story. So how did that activate for you?
Yeah, it was being on set and watching. So my first day on set, I joined like a smaller agency on the northern beaches of Sydney. And so you're not going to, I rephrase, you can, but it's unlikely you're going to get cast for a lead of a film if you're just with an extras agency, right? So I did that and then I started booking commercials and smaller guest roles. Felt like I outgrew that And then I sort of transitioned and got a higher level manager and what have you. But my first day on set as an extra, Chris Hemsworth and Isabel Lucas were working, and they were just so nice. Like, I know, trust me, not all actors are nice, especially to extras and what have you, but they were just so nice, right? Cut to a few years later, I'm the lead of a film with Isabel Lucas. You know, it's funny how things work, right? But it was that you're falling in love with it, and a set like Home and Away, the crew have all been on it for almost forever. A lot of them got really nice houses on the northern beaches because it's a big family, you know, and it shoots all year round, which is like most TV shows, sort of 3 months, you go on hiatus, you might come back the next year for season 2 or several months later and shoot it again. But it was, to be honest with you, it was just that love of being on set and the process. And obviously as the roles get bigger, the challenges get bigger. And that's where it's like, when I like roles that kind of scare me a little bit, it's like, fuck, how am I going to pull this off? You know, there's no way, you know? So, but that's when you're like, right, let's go. You know, like how, like, I've got to crack on here. So even if I'm learning, scenes for like an audition, for example, say there's 3 scenes, massive chunks of dialogue, especially American stuff, they like hearing their own voices. There's the article. Americans like hearing their own voices, but it's a lot more dialogue than Australia. So, but what I'll put on the walker or the treadmill at the gym, and I'll sort of record the other person's lines on my phone. And even then, it's just there doing that, you know, because that work ethic dispels fear for me. Because like some actors, they don't care. You hear funny stories about actors rolling up and they got the old earpiece, like their lines fed to them. You know, I won't say the actor's name, but it's not so common anymore. And to be honest with you, Aussie actors don't do that. Like a lot of times with auditions, especially it's a fast turnaround, you're allowed to hold your script to sort of look down. I fucking hate doing that. I don't know what it is. I like the preparation of having it in my soul, in my body, having done it, and then that way I just know. The holding the script thing. I really respect the art of doing it. I've had to do it before, but it's not my thing. You know, yeah, it's just that, yeah, I guess it's that, not fear, but it's just like, I'm not going to say, even if like I'll tape something, if I don't think I could put it on a cinema screen, I won't send it to my agent.
I love that.
You know, and obviously like, you know, the rule with auditions, it's your first crack at it. They don't expect it to be the finished product. I expect it to be the finished fucking product with me. You know what I mean? Because it's like you add sound and whatever to that could go on a cinema screen. Otherwise, I'm not sending it.
Well, I guess that standard of professionalism and work ethic is going to separate you from your competition. I mean, competition is everywhere, especially as an actor. There's
always someone more famous, man. There's always someone more famous. There's always someone. And now a lot of these casting websites, which I heavily disagree with, they get you to put your followers in. Because there's these apps so actors use these platforms like, you know, casting networks and showcasts. And what it does, it's for casting directors. They put out like a casting brief. The agents submit their actors that they think are suitable. Then the casting director says, yeah, we'd like to see Dan for this, Andy for this, great, whatever. But yeah, it's that. And then there's this new thing where it's like put your followers in. It's like, okay, here we go.
So will they favor people with higher volume of followers to get more eyes on that?
They would never put that in writing, but it's on there for a reason, yes. Right? So it's kind of like, but at the end of the day, look, I've worked on shows where, like in the Home and Away days, where there might be musicians pop up. There might be people who just come off The Bachelor or whatever. And Home and Away is a show where they don't mind doing that on occasion. But it's, you know, it's something that pops up, you know, and you see the latest Bad Boys movie, for example, right? Instead of having like rappers pop up, all these different cameos or what have you, they've got like YouTube.
Yeah,
you know, there's a African American guy who's like he's got gazillions of followers, and he just kind of does this, right? Yeah, and it's like, so he kind of bumps into Martin Lawrence and does this and out, or how they're monetizing it, like Mr. Beast or any of these guys. I learned all this stuff from my 10-year-old, by the way. I don't, you know, but it's just fascinating now how because most people digest their content on phones. It's like, you know, I'm still like, I'll do it on a plane if I have to, or something if it's an emergency. But just people are okay with watching blockbuster films on phones now.
Totally.
And when I say people, I use them in the younger generation because that's how they digest their content. So it takes away from the cinematic experience a little bit, yes, but it is fascinating how it's all sort of changing.
Yeah, 100%. And do you feel like that standard that you have now around making sure that you are more professional, better quality, memorizing, showing up differently. Is that how you landed your first big gigs? Like, did you have that sort of discipline and structure and that standard from the start, or has that been developed over time? How did you approach it?
I'd say it was over time and then discovering what works for me and what doesn't. So initially you're in it for the love. Like I remember the first speaking role in Home and Away I got wasn't Heath Braxton, which is what I'm known for. It's for a very, very important character called Reuben Humphreys.
Reuben Humphreys.
They give all the shit name. They give all the shit names to the guest cast, and it was like, you know, it was like I had the longer hair, clean shaven, which I can't remember the last time I've done that. And I think it was, and I remember getting that phone call and like doing laps around my backyard. Now, right? If someone offered me a 1 month gig now on a show like that, I'd be like, probably not my thing. But it's funny how things change, you know. But it's and then going through that thing of being one of the most sort of recognizable faces in Australia. Some of the most the Riverboy characters were huge, and dealing with that notoriety. Like I've said this before, I was not ready for it. Like I struggled with that. Like I picked it up more naturally, but like I was like I was playing a 25-year-old bad boy. So you can imagine. And then you kind of start living that life. Like you're partying more, you're doing all this stuff. And yeah, I was in my 20s, you know, but it's like, but then you realize, is that conducive to doing your absolute best work? Is that conducive to this? And the thing on Home and Away, it's not like I said, it's not like it's a 3-month thing or 1 month thing. It's 3 years of your life and you get a few weeks off a year. It's like school. So is that partying lifestyle conducive to that? Certainly not. You know what I mean? And then, you know, going through like things in your private life that, you know, I always say when you're in the public eye, your best and worst parts of your life play out in the public eye.
Sure.
And that's what you sign up for, right? So you go through the stage of fuck the media and blah, 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 all that sort of stuff, right? But then you realize they're doing a job. And if you're having that, if you've got that lifestyle and they've got a gun pointed at you, you're handing them bullets. You know, there's no clicks in harmony. There's no clicks in Dan just goes to basketball with his 10-year-old. You know what I mean? Dan takes his daughter to the zoo. He's hanging out with his partner. It's not like, that's not interesting. It's that, you know, Dan does a nude run.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that in the news way too many times, unfortunately. So before Home and Away, though, you were pretty not well known yet. So Home and Away was that big break for you. Was that the defining moment in your career?
So in the Australian market, right after drama school, I booked Power Rangers, which is obviously a long ride. I think it's one of the longest running live action shows on the planet. And they shoot a series of that every year in New Zealand, right? And so to book a job like that right out of drama school, it's amazing. It's great money. It's Disney. It's an American accent.
Yeah.
But the thing I've taken from that show, apart from the spandex, which I kept, no, I didn't, was all the stunt training I got to do. Because it's America, they give you they fly you in a month or two before. And obviously when you're doing these like Marvel movies, it could be 5 months of all natural training. But you know what I mean? It's like, all the stunt driving, and half the time with stunts, it's about keeping the stunt guys safe. Because they can't see shit. They're in a big rubber mask. The monsters weren't real. I'm sorry for people who thought they were. But, you know, like just stuff like that, it was such a gift. And obviously doing a series like that, of that magnitude, of that size, as your first gig right out of drama school, is unreal. You know, it was unreal.
So did that feel like a life-changing moment? Was that like, I've made it, this is the start?
It was huge. Because then you're doing your press tour over in the States and whatever. But, yeah, I still kind of escaped the notoriety here in Australia because technically it is a kid show. That Home and Away beast, like in those characters, because that was right around the time where the old showrunner Cam Smith, so Animal Kingdom was huge. The movie just came out. They hadn't done the American sort of spin-off series yet. Animal Kingdom and Sons of Anarchy were huge shows, great shows. So he was trying to get that done at a 7 o'clock time slot.
Yeah.
Which was risky, you know, but it, you know, worked out great, obviously. And then I think it was kind of lightning in a bottle because Home and Away goes on hiatus, goes off air, that non-ratings period, for a couple of months over Christmas and New Year's and what have you. So it was, but they had these promos, I don't know if you ever remember them. It's like slow motion, myself and the guys who play my brothers walking out of the water in boardy with the tats, and they would change the wordings like Alf's been like knocked out or taken captive. Could these three be responsible? It's like there's a polar bear attack. Could these be responsible? Like Irene tripped over. Could these two be responsible? They had a whole bunch of them. It was so fun. Who are that? But it was lightning in a bottle. Like, and we went to a mall signing before we even went on air. I think it was at Parramatta Westfield. We did one down in Melbourne as well. And it was just like, it was like Justin Bieber was there. Like every level was full just from these promos. And I think Luke Mitchell, who's gone on to do great stuff in the States, he played a character, Romeo. He's like, dude, this is not normal. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's right.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. So how did you handle that? You've gone from not huge notoriety to then being this face that everybody sees on the streets. Tell me, just run us through that experience. Like, what did you go through internally?
Fan interaction, I handled really well. And then the anxiety stuff, I didn't. Like, I was drinking like a fucking fish. My partner and I were like sort of both like partying, just being 20-somethings, right? No, because you get invited to a lot of events. In fact, you're getting paid to go to, whether it's launch events or this, and you're kind of just in that habit of that world sort of thing. But what I discovered and later in life, it's like, because I had no awareness of like sort of mental health or any of that space. So my brain connects the dots. So when you go through like trauma, so going through a divorce in the public eye or something else happened, your brain, again, it's two primary functions that to keep you safe and to conserve energy. Keeping you safe might, you don't want to be feeling anxious. What's the quickest way to get rid of that? Glug, right? So going through a divorce in the public eye, just drinking like a fish or whatever, and then that goes away. And that's like, and you work out the relationship with my little boy's mom, and things are great with a couple of minutes away from each other. But then when you get triggered again or again, or there's other stuff, and especially in this industry, there's a lot of pressure or what have you, then that's the first thing. So it's like, okay, right. Because of that, no, and like my parents weren't drinkers, or there was no the usual things. Because I remember sitting down with a GP just to get a referral, and all the normal questions. And I'd read a few books at that stage. It's like, look, my parents weren't smokers, they weren't drinkers, which is the usual thing. It's not, the whole second-hand smoke. Your kids are addicted to it or whatever. It's this tribe mentality. If your dad rides a motorcycle, it's the natural thing, because if you don't fit in with your tribe, thousands of years, you perish if you don't fit in with your tribe. So it's like, it's that old thing where you're kind of the sum of the parts of your 5 closest people sort of thing. That's why you've got all these cool mates.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so I found that was a fascinating thing to sort of navigate as you go through and on the different stresses and pressures and all that sort of stuff, for sure.
Yeah, totally. And what was the most challenging part of being famous? Were there any moments where you just thought this is enough?
Yeah, it was definitely going through the divorce stuff in the public eye or anything like that, because there's no, like I said, there's no clicks in harmony. And it was like, if someone on the Daily Mail or whatever, they're not going to sort of attack the other party, they're going to attack the person in the public eye. But even things like, I was having things attached to me, someone was in some sort of thing, and it's Dan Ewing's manager or Dan Ewing's friend, and it's like drug scandal or whatever it is, right? Or something like that, and I'm pulling something out, but it was something along those lines, right? Because that's the click. And as we know, and as hopefully most Australians know now, with like the cyclone we talked before, now with COVID, it's about that click. Why just the click? I don't give a shit if you read the article. It's about the click. And then the advertisers are happy, they can charge your advertisers more money, and off we go. Once you understand that, then you're like, oh, okay, right. I can't keep giving them, and that's the ownership on you. Okay, well, you can't live this lifestyle where you're going out and enjoying yourself too much. And obviously maturity, and, I'm about turning 40 in June, you got to grow up at some stage, but it's that. It's being able to take a step back and go, okay, these aren't evil demons who are just out to get you. These are people who work for the Daily Mail or one of these other things, and they've got to churn out 9 bullshit stories a day or they get fired. And that's just a fact. Like, having spoken to journalists who've worked in that space, it was very eye-opening, because they don't sound happy, like having to spew out lies and just, inflammatory stuff just for clicks. It's a fascinating space.
Yeah, I can imagine it when you initially start to get that level of fame, things are going really awesome. You're making money. Everybody knows who you are. People are giving you the best tables at restaurants. and then all of a sudden a bit of drama starts happening in the media and they start coming at you. How do you handle that? What's your initial thought? Did you hide away and crumble, or were you just like angry?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely more the athlete in me was like angry. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, how can they write stuff like this? And in America, it's a little like, obviously that media is always going to be sensationalized, but there's more legal accountability. What I learned in Australia is, because it's so expensive and you're going up against these multi-million, sometimes multi-billion-dollar corporations, getting stuff even not retracted is one thing. But I had one case where my lawyer simply said, okay, well, this didn't happen. Here's the legal proof. We expect a retraction article or whatever. Just no response. And then he threatened to sue. And instead of doing a retraction article, they amended the old article. And as we know with these platforms, the articles are long gone, 20 minutes later. And it was just like the one paragraph, so it's like, but the one where it's like, yeah, this, miss, it's like, it's this big deal. But like I said, no clicks in harmony. There's no clicks if someone's done nothing wrong. It's like, oh, okay. But the responsibility is just not there for the media to retract anything or do a whole separate article. So it very much protects. I mean, you see what happened with mutual friend of ours, Heston Russell, with the ABC, even Rebel Wilson to an extent. It's like not everybody has hundreds of thousands of dollars for what it costs to go that far. And these companies are always going to have more money, especially with your Daily Mails or whatever, because, you're not just fighting the Courier Mail. It's like Rupert Murdoch or something like that, right? So it's like, it's the law is certainly on the media's side. And they're very tricky. Like they'll write something like it's a statement, right? But then they'll put a little tiny question mark in small font. Like all these little dodgy fucking things but once you start learning that's how it is, and having friends in the space, obviously because the same in journalists and just dialoguing with them about their life and how I'm like, gee, because it's not like, I'm sure like politicians, right? They all start with wanting to change the world or do the right thing. So yeah, I find it, I always find it interesting just to sort of pick the brains of journalists who have to write things like, or choose to write things like this, but what's the reason behind it? What's the deadline or what have you? Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't think not everybody can handle that sort of pressure,
Yeah.
Getting someone giving you a little bit of shit, behind closed doors is a lot different to having the spotlight on you and some of your darkest and hardest moments, like getting a divorce and things that can take place. And then on top of going through the pain of some of those factors, then having the media
double down,
and make you out to be a bad guy. So,
especially now, I mean, I was kind of lucky because a lot of it happened before this cancel culture thing, and and I was one of the lucky ones that like my network stood by me, and then everything goes away. It's like, oh yeah, of course. But now it seems like people are just removed or blacklisted or blackballed or whatever you want to call it for accusations that when they get found to be untrue. If they're found true, it's a different thing, of course. When it gets found to be untrue, it's like in a court of law, then there's crickets. So I think that's an interesting part of, and now what's happening in the podcast space, breaking the algorithm. It is fascinating now that we see a lot of athletes, especially in the US, where these talking head journalists can say whatever they want about LeBron James or this or that or whatever. But now athletes can go, Draymond Green, who actually plays for the Golden State Warriors, he runs and he literally has his little podcast kit he takes with him on the road. So post game, he'll jump on and say, and as opposed to, having some sensationalize some little clip out of the press conference end of the game, he'll then do an hour podcast post game, right? Yeah. And it's great because that gives them the platform to speak, as opposed to reading it back in the day in the newspaper. Journalists has just lit you up. And it's like, well, I was actually injured, or this, I was actually playing out of position because this guy was injured, or whatever, So it's great now that there are, avenues and platforms for people to actually speak at least their version of the truth. Or so you go, oh, okay, well, it's not just, absolutely one political party.
Yeah, which I think is important because there's pros and cons of social media and being so connected. Obviously, cons, people can take this information that's not correct and blow it up and talk shit, or you can also defend yourself, and you can have your friends, your tribe and your fans sort of back you as well.
Yeah. Or it's just like, okay, look, I made this was the mistake I made. I can acknowledge that. This part is complete BS and it's been proven wrong, in a court of law, or it's been proven wrong. This is not factual, blah, blah, blah. But I think now, and we talked before again about like all the cyclone stuff in the media and whatever. I think now people are starting to cotton on. It's like, okay, if I read this publication, high likelihood it's going to be BS. Or what I encourage people to do is, okay, like, and I try not to get too far into politics because it just does your head in, but okay, but who owns this publication? What are their sort of motivations for, shitting on this person? Oh, they've got ties to the right, to the left, to this company. It's like, okay, there's, just read between the lines a little bit. That's all. I'm not saying every single thing is bullshit, well, depending on the website you're looking at, but it's important to read between the lines with this stuff, because it's only going to get more and more, and this AI thing, how fascinating it is. It's like someone could use the footage that we're taping today and use your handsome mug and, and say all sorts of horrendous shit. And I can pick it because you can pick good CGI or whatever it is, but it's fascinating.
Soon we won't be able to see it. That's for damn sure. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, but even like just speaking to people in the business world about like, here's this thing that would take me 8 hours. Yeah. I would chuck it through ChatGPT or whatever it is, and you're off. This is a true story. ChatGPT, I thought it was a dating app until a few months ago. My younger brother, Patrick, who is like, yeah, just throw this, because I had like an email to write or a pitch or something to do. And he goes, just throw it through ChatGPT. I was like, fuck's that?
Yeah.
And I literally thought ChatGPT was like some online thing where handsome people like Andy Anderson would, peruse. But it's not. I was so taken back by, and it's
advancing so quickly as well.
I asked it to give it a more informal vibe for you, because you're very authentic. And I was like, you just told it to give it a less formal vibe. I was like, yes. Like, here it is. Fuck. Like, so when this microphone kills you one day, like Transformers or something, I don't think anyone can be surprised.
Yeah, not wrong. It's advancing quickly, which is wild. But, back to that point, I think there's some massive pros and cons about social media and, media in general. And I think that after COVID, especially, people are starting to wake up and see breaking the algorithm, see the cracks in the matrix, so to speak, around the fake news and the nonsense that gets put out there. And unfortunately, it impacts people in a negative way. And I know you've been at the brunt of that with some of your past experiences. And to that point, you spoke a little bit about your partying and drinking and stuff like that. Do you feel like you sort of lent into that, or you use that as a bit of an agent to get through some of those tougher moments? Or how did the drinking affect you through those times?
This is so funny. I'm glad you brought that up. So I went into the GP, and you speak to psychologists, and it's like, I'm just like, here, just spew it all out. It's like, and they're like, okay, so do you drink every day? And I was like, when I'm in, like when you were in it, yeah, absolutely drink every day. But if I'm saying getting in shape for a role or whatever, I could go 3 months, 6 months, no problem. He goes, well, you're not classified as an alcoholic then, right? I was like, oh, well, drinking at 9 a.m. in the morning, that's pretty alco behavior. And it's like, look, don't get me wrong. It's like going through a divorce and not seeing your child and blah, blah, blah. It's something that I'm so apologetic to anyone who has to go through that sort of stuff. But it was a coping mechanism, right? And then as I don't know, anyone who's had any kind of vice, who you can put it away for a while, but once you flick that switch again, it's like, it's fascinating how it can sort of creep back in, and you blink and it's like, oh, I've been, dieting terribly, or I haven't trained, or all this. And then it's like, it takes courage, number one, and then having a great supportive network. So when I got sober, you were one of the first it's a new word, people I called. I think you'd just done 6 months off, and you're like, brother, it's fucking life-changing. Give it a go. And having that supportive network is so, so important. So you can call it like an accountability partner or whatever. I always found the best accountability partner is the one in the mirror. But if that person's lying to you, or your brain, and our brains lie to us, or not lie to us, our brain influences you to do what's going to make you safe and conserve energy. And safe might be not, like I said, not feeling anxious or depressed. And your brain, if I was struggling with the anxiety of being in the public eye or notoriety, right? Glug, 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 when you're in your 20s and you're partying, no problem, right? Cut to like mid 30s or whatever. And then your brain tells you to do that. And it's like, oof, that's where it starts getting dangerous. So you really have to have that. And this is someone like me who's read a lot of the books and trained coach, certified coach. But when your subconscious is kicking in, it's a dangerous thing because our brain, you subconsciously, it's like, I'm sure you've had times where you go, I didn't train for 3 days. I drank, I ate terribly. And it's just, you're just doing it without thinking it. So I know for me, like having great habits and rituals is so important for someone like me. Absolutely. And even putting my clothes out in the morning so I go for a morning walk or train or whatever, having that structure for someone like me, absolutely important.
Yeah, super important. I think, on the point of sobriety and alcohol in general, I think, like you said, I was 6 to 12 months into my sobriety journey, which is freaking amazing. And then currently I'm about a year and a half into it, which is amazing. Yeah. And I'm decided I'm all in on this now. It's such a good change. But, to the point of helping you through that too, I think we don't realize like how detrimental, even if we're not walking around the streets falling over and acting like buffoons every day of the week, we don't realize the impact that even getting blind on Friday, Saturday, Sunday night actually has on your life in all these other areas and the impact it has on other people. And, I think I've mentioned this to you many times, definitely I was still achieving. I was still an athlete. I was still fit. And I actually wasn't even drinking, probably not maybe once every 2 months. But even that, now being off it for so long, I see how much it slowed me down, how much it weakened my thinking and my standards. And so what are some of the big changes now that you're sober, you're in this life, let's go. Well, what are the big shifts that have happened for you?
Apart from the ones that you just mentioned, for me being a father, I found like I was just far more present now. And you wake up, and even if you've got a good constitution, you're able to drink. That's not like a badge of honor or whatever, but you know what it's like. You can still operate at a high level. But if you're really honest with yourself, it's like, was I the best partner? Was I the best dad? Was I like on my game work-wise? And the answer is exponentially less, So even it's just at that level, and now it's like you're seeing things more. You're far more present. It's like, I used to have times where it's like I couldn't remember what I had for lunch, but now it's like I remember what my daughter was wearing like a week ago or whatever. Or I remember you're far more present. So you're going to the zoo and you're seeing photos from back in the day when you were drinking or you were more stressed about work or whatever. You could see the photos you were there, but you have no memory because your mind's on other places. So I find, if I had to say one thing initially, and I say this now as 3 months in, right? And I've done 3 months before. So when maybe I'm going to be more qualified to talk about it a year in, but 3 months in, just in that short time, far more present, obviously far healthier, far more sharp, and just more connected. And I think that a lot of people try to sort of, I talk to people about it and what have you, but a coach of mine said, he said one thing. He goes, alcohol steals from your soul. And for whatever it is, been through some tough stuff with my relationship or whatever it was. And then that just, for whatever reason, my heart and my soul was open to hearing it, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like people had tried to, talk to me about it before. I'd talked to people, but like for whatever reason, alcohol steals from your soul. It just got me, I heard it exactly the right time. What's that old saying? When the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. And then, like I said, having a great supportive network, having people like you and some other amazing people in my life, and without judgment, it's like, it's fascinating because everyone's got their thing, it's like people addicted to sugar, to cigarettes, to sex, even drama. Because, they're a drama queen.
Yeah.
Doing all this work on the neuroscience of it, it's like people get addicted, right, to the neurochemicals released from drama. So there's always that, if you speak to blokes about it, the missus has got that one fucking friend who's always fights with her boyfriend, and then she's telling the other girls off, and then she's in tears and she's crying the next day. people can actually get addicted to drama, which is fascinating. All the chemical response from drama.
No, so true. And I think alcohol, unfortunately, opens up the gateway for so many other vices. Oh. It is the doorway for all your other unfortunate gambling, sex, whatever it may be, drugs. It can really, I think it really, really fucks up too many lives and we don't even realize that.
Well, I find it interesting. It's like they say it's truth serum. It's fucking not. It's like you operate from a place. Look, don't get me wrong, right? I still, even now, I miss like a nice glass of red with a steak or not so much social events, which is weird, but they are certainly easier if everyone else has had a few. But it was the sports game thing that got me. I was like going to a live game and because that's my shit, like love that and having a couple of drinks there and going. But it's like, it's once you've done it a couple of times, it's like I'm driving home from an event and I'm not, and everyone else is getting that stage where they're a little bit too loose or they're going to kick on and that'll be them written off for a couple of days. And I'm up the next day hanging out with the kids or, getting up early and going for a walk. Once you start doing that sort of stuff and you feel how much better you feel, it's interesting. I do think it's interesting though, it happens as you're leading into 40. So just say actors in my sort of line of work. I mean, obviously Robert Downey Jr. had a lot of substance stuff, but Josh Brolin, who people at home probably know better as Thanos, in the Marvel universe, Tom Hardy, my favorite actor, Bradley Cooper. It feels weird. It's like as people get to that sort of 40 mark, they start going, I think I've done enough of that.
Totally.
And it's like, and whether it's the universe, like with me course correcting or other people going, I'm kind of done with it, and you've worked in clubs. I've seen enough clubs in my time or thing. And you kind of just go, I think I'm done with that. It's weird. I think they call it maturity, but it's, you get to this point where you're like, I've done enough of that. It doesn't give you that same let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's partly you've experienced it, partly unfortunately the pain that you have to go through to recover and all the opportunity that you miss out from an energy standpoint, relationship standpoint, just showing up mentally clear standpoint, all of those tax you so much more as you get older. And the payoff isn't there anymore. It's just not worth it.
No, I think especially when you struggle with alcohol, you feel better when you're on it because that's its job, right? But then I was never one of those ones who got, you see a lot of people, if they like alcohol or illicit drugs, they have they're done for the week. Unfortunately for me, I was good after maybe a day, sleep in or still be able to rock, which is a bad thing because
then you do it again the next day.
Oh, fuck. And I'm sure I'm sure there's instances where I wasn't or what have you, but it was, it's a fascinating journey. And I'm interested now because I'm about to take a long flight to Europe. Right. So that's another thing with the drinking stuff. Right. So it's not just getting blind for saying getting blind, but I'm sure anyone who's taken a long flight, having a glass of red and a sleeping tablet or a glass of red and cheese does make flying easier. So might have to check in, do a live update for the podcast. Yeah. Well, and it's fascinating you say test. I remember my first sort of social event was promoting a film at the Actor Awards, and the after event, young bartender recognized when he comes over with a shot. Right, and I've been on the Pepsi Maxes all night, which is it's my new thing. Fucking Pepsi Max. Oh, it's the good stuff. Give me. Can I have one now? No. Room temperature. No. But this young guy, so lovely, has a chat to me. He brings over a shot. And in that split second in my mind, I'm like, oh, I don't want this kid to feel bad. It wasn't my addiction going, yes, alcohol, but I'm like, oh, is that social thing? What a nice kid. And then just like that, I made the decision. I was like, buddy, I'm really sorry, but I don't drink anymore. I'm 2 months in. But I just I just can't, but I'm so grateful. I don't want to waste it though. I don't want you to go back and think, can I give it to someone who's going to enjoy it?
Yeah.
And he goes, man, really appreciate you saying that. And just like that, but all that worry and I don't want to offend this kid. I don't want to do this. I don't want to seem like a dickhead or whatever. It all went out the door just because I gave him that couple of minutes of going, hey man, look, this is just where I'm at the moment. And he really appreciated it. But he was like, oh, yeah, it was really nice. Leave the bottle. No.
Well, that's the thing. I think you're on your journey of 3-4 months. There's going to be many more tests over the next few months and years. But I think you're at the stage, man, definitely where you value things differently.
A couple of beers after basketball, right? Which is one of my favorite things to do. So I'm not watching games, but so we're playing a game and then you go upstairs and everyone has a couple of, mid-strength. Queensland, everyone drinks this mid-strength stuff. Everyone has a couple of beers and I'm on the Pepsi Max. So that was kind of weird at the start because, post-game, a couple of beers, it feels great. It's relaxing, but you just got to know yourself. And for me, the tap is on or the tap is off, right? And maybe that changes later. Like, but I'm not going to test that with alcohol. But even with, I don't know if it was my upbringing, you finish all the food on the table. Otherwise, you're going to bed with certainly no dessert, but you go straight to bed with nothing else. So I don't know if it was that, but the bottle of red's getting open, the bottle of red's getting finished.
Yeah.
So that's when when I talk about the discipline for me is really, really important, even with my food, because I know that if I'm not getting in shape for a role and I'm making homemade pizzas with my son or whatever it is, if there's no food, if I haven't planned that, like I know his daddy's steak and beans or whatever, and this is Archie's pizza, I know for a fact that he's going to eat half of it and I'm going to cream the other half of it. No problem, right? So you've got to, for me, the discipline's been key.
Yeah, totally.
And ramping that up, because some people, especially with your bodybuilding background, discipline for you, I'm sure, in that space, it's kind of nothing. But a lot of people might struggle with that.
Totally, for sure.
Initially. And that's why programs like with our Change Labs challenge we're doing, the Superhuman Challenge and all that sort of stuff, what it does is it really sets that foundation for you, which is so important, for great habits and rituals. Foundations and setting those up is important in such a small amount of time. It could be I'm lucky because I can switch things in a couple of days. I've started a new habit. They say 66, right, on average, which is fantastic. So, but there's certainly that point where it's just, this is just, and your brain stops seeing things as a threat.
For sure.
I'm sure when you first started doing podcasts, it's like, well, where do I look? Do I talk to my guests? It's here. It's like, am I allowed to, say get out of the audience to this? Am I here with the mic? Am I back here? Once things start becoming second nature, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good move for most people. The point about being truth serum or being the honest version of yourself, I think it's so far from the truth. So far. I think it brings out the worst version of you and completely.
How often do you go, oh, fuck? Or how
that's amazing. Yeah.
How often have we had people talk to us and then they might be on some illicit substance that makes them very excited and there's they get 4 business ideas.
100.
I had a guy quite literally, I won't say his name, but he had his boss come up to him after a staff party and he's like, mate, I can't wait to hear the pitch on blah, 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 or whatever. Really excited for you. This is going to change things for your business, da, da, da. And he's like, I saw him to do a workout an hour later and he's like, I've got no fucking idea what I said. I was just talking my boss's ear off because of, things. It's like, and he had no clue, but
everyone listening, definitely don't do that. That's what you don't want to do. But I think it just brings out the worst side of you and it dilutes your character and personality in completely different ways. So for anybody listening to this that's considering sobriety or a bit of a stint off the booze, I'd say, number one, remember that the boundaries that you set are really important, and people, as soon as you set that boundary, people are cool with it. Don't freak out about people judging you.
And if they do judge you, they're not the people you want in your circle anyway. Trust me.
I think that's so important. And then, as you mentioned, 66 days it takes to create a habit and ritual. So set the first milestone as that 66-day mark. Stick to that. And it becomes easier and easier. And I promise you, the value you get out of life from energy, consistency, better relationships, being more grounded, far exceeds the value you get from a boozy night. No doubt about it.
And I tell people who I've spoken about it since, even with getting their diet back in order or whatever, because sometimes 66 days seems like a lifetime to people because they're at that stage of their life where they cannot imagine 6 hours without a drink or some gnarly food or whatever it is, whatever the negative behavior is. So, okay, well, what can you commit to today? And you're texting me every day, like you did with me, But after a week, you're like, Ewing's, it's like he's having fun doing this. This is great. But it's like, I'll say, okay, and I always try, if they say 2 weeks, or give me a month, because if I speak to people, it's like a few days seems like it's okay, all right, we're going to do a month and we're going to reevaluate. Obviously, as the month's leading, and they're like, I'm going to push it to 3, I'm going to push it to 6 or whatever it is. But whatever you do, motivation comes and goes, right? It comes and goes. That's where discipline is so important. And like I said, for me, it's like I'll have my gym clothes out, and look, I only wear t-shirts and shorts anyway, so it's just half my wardrobe. But it's like morning walk this, and if you've got your gym gear ready to go, and I'm talking especially to people at home with kids or whatever it is. So Katrina, my little girl's mum, she'll try to do Pilates with a toddler, but so she'll literally, she'll have a little a YouTube set up on her phone where she can do Pilates in the playroom while Neve is there, like reading a little book or something like that. There are ways to do it. Whether you're getting up half an hour early, it's like what COVID taught us. One of the positives is, especially in the fitness space, you can literally do a workout the size of a yoga mat and you're going to be dripping wet. In fact, when I'm getting in shape for films, those HIIT workouts are the most brutal, and most people have access to YouTube, and it can be a low impact thing. It doesn't have to be doing burpees or whatever. It can literally just be moving or going for a walk. There is something you can do, but you just got to choose to do it.
100%. Yeah, totally. Which is exactly what we teach in the Superhuman Challenge, Becoming Superhuman Challenge, which has been incredible. How have you found the journey of Change Labs and helping people change their mindset and things?
I find myself I feel like I'm the connector to the not everyday man. That's the wrong thing. But because yourself and Andrea and Anna have worked so comprehensively in this space, I'm certainly certified, but obviously my main thing is wearing makeup for a living. But having been through all of this stuff, literally, and all these failures, and like, I feel like, I think it's perfect because the one thing you can say about me, I'm quite authentic in the way I share things. This will work for me. This is what worked for me. And I'd be sharing them on podcasts, and I've had people inboxing me all the time. So there's this weird thing. I was like, for the authenticity of it alone, I went and got certified so I could share techniques, not just what worked for me. But yeah, it was certainly very eye-opening. It's been so great to come and to work with people. And it's just fascinating, especially during Change Labs. You're meeting people who've been through cancer. You got people who are already elite athletes, but they're struggling with other stuff. It's fascinating to see. And everyone's got their shit. Everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time. You know what I mean? Like everyone's proverbial, stop swearing all of a sudden. Everyone's shit stinks, So it's like, it was a fascinating, it's fascinating to see the cross sections of society and the different things they want out of life. It's been great.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. So many of our clients look up to you because you've been through the trenches. You're open about those ups and downs, about sobriety, and then also you apply it every day. Even the last 3 months, your physical transformation, like you're always in good shape, but lately you're looking phenomenal, man. It's really dialed in because of your habits, your rituals, being sober and applying it. And I think people recognize that, which is amazing because then they're inspired to replicate and do the same thing.
Yeah, and it's not all like, and that's the thing. It's for me, it's like there's, I'm certainly doing extremely well at the moment, but like in the volatile, nature of my business, it's like I found myself going really well, like being on top of the alcohol stuff for like say 3 months, choosing getting in shape for a while. But it's like I said to you, the comfort is the devil's playground. So when you get that time off, it's like just because you can sit by the pool at midday and crack open a few, JD and Diet Cokes, it's the mother's milk, like that, just because you can do that doesn't mean you should, or it's going to be conducive to success or you being a present, boyfriend, husband, father, whatever it is, present partner. It was fascinating to now have made this decision because I think Tony Robbins once said he was speaking to someone who's a recovering alcoholic, and he said, I've got X amount of days. Then Tony said, why are you counting? I was like, fuck, that's so good, right? So now it's like, and I think I said it to you, it's like if something happens and my life is exponentially worse in a year's time or whatever, sure, you go for it. But do you ever hear stories like that?
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? But because of the drinking culture, and obviously it makes the government a lot of money with tax. That's why they don't outlaw cigarettes. It's fascinating, but it's actually so much more liberating than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be much harder. Giving that up was the easy part. Don't get me wrong. Like I said to you, when you're going into like social events and the Aussie drinking culture, or your first sober Christmas, when you got all your relatives going, you got the one uncle, come on, mate, just have one. And he's not doing it to be a dick. It's just how it is. But it's fascinating. Then you're like, is that what I look like? No. Especially when you see people like off their face and like slurring, and you're like, oh gosh, that was me. you're like, that was me running through the streets of Brisbane.
Yeah.
Saying, Dan, you've been from Comic-Con. It's a story for another podcast.
Absolutely. Well, look, man, I mean, I think it's super inspiring. I know all our clients are Change Labs, and all the viewers are going to be really inspired by what you do. And I have no doubt that you also not only thinking about yourself with your health, your body, and these things, but you're thinking about your kids and the example that you're setting for your beautiful daughter and your incredible son. And so fast forward, 5-10 years from now, what do you want your kids to say about their dad and who he is in regards to character and the shifts that he's made?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. I actually sat my son down, and because I'm not with his mum anymore, but I spoke to her first, and I spoke to him, and I looked my 10-year-old son in the eye and said, "Daddy's never touching another drop of alcohol again," because he started to bring stuff up, and kids are smart. And so, I forget the quote, but it's like, "Oh, you've been drinking again," or something like that. Kids are smart, especially 10-year-old boys. Woof, woof. But it breaks your heart. So the irony of it was, he was sitting across from me, his mum was over there, and we're sitting in a cafe, and I'm like in tears because it's just like all the things that I feel like I've missed or whatever. And then right over his left shoulder, quite literally where Steve Jobs is looking at me now, was a bottle shop. And I was like, isn't the universe just fucking beautiful? It's like I'm having this conversation with him right there, and it was so, I know there was a few people in my life I wanted to, obviously I'd committed to you already. Then I committed to my little boy's mum, and I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to sort of make sure I did that. And then obviously to my partner and to like a few other people in my life, my family. And it's just like, I still wish to this day that, I'm not a big regrets person. I'm a lessons person, but I wish I gave up when my mum was still alive, because that was always something she could see that I was struggling with it. And she passed in 2021, and believing what you want about the universe or energy. I know somewhere her soul is proud that I've finally done it. She's probably like, took you fucking long enough. But yeah, I always say, for me, it's like it's a slow moving boat with some of that stuff. Other stuff, I'm like, get it done now, fail, figure it out. With that, it took me a long time, maybe because it took away so much pain initially, but then you take inventory, and it's funny how our brains ignore the pain that stuff causes. It's like you go, oh yeah, like that night I missed this flight, I did this, I wasn't as present with my partner here, I did this. And then you start going, oh yeah. It's kind of, it's a series of checks and balances. When you look at it like when you look at it like a business owner, like, it's like, I assume it'd be having to like remove an employee that's not adding value. At some point, I'm sure, and this is the thing with like something like alcohol, like you get your dopamine here and you've had great nights. It's fun, you're friends, but then it's like, then you start getting into, your brain starts, this is how you feel better right away. And we see it in most Netflix shows, right? How often does everybody at home see a show like Suits or whatever, when the first thing they do is they walk through the door, Yellowstone, Kevin Costner, he goes over to the cool looking bar, grabs the cool looking glass, pours the scotch. We see it in most, and it's like, damn, I could use some of that right now. I don't think they do it for any product placement, but it's there. And like I said to you, the Aussie drinking culture, there's nothing wrong with that. But I certainly can just say, look, the last 3 months of my life have been amongst the best, because the other thing that alcohol does, it awakens that old mate ego, and you can operate from that. And it's like, it's quickly for people like us, you can go quickly from ego, so you can quickly from ambition and intention and getting shit done to operating out of ego. And ego for people like us is not good, in my opinion. But some people, like I work, especially on the basketball court, I know, because my job is, I'm a point guard. So it's kind of like the coach on the floor setting things up. There's some guys I know I need to get them a little bit fired up. It's like, hey, old mate's killing you, or whatever. You got to stir him up a bit. These other guys on my team, getting them angry doesn't work, because they start swearing at the refs, they're getting tech fouls, and they're out of there, kind of thing. But it's interesting, alcohol can be it's great in moderate, it can be, a couple of glasses, but I just know for me that's not an option. I'm drinking the whole bottle at the moment, right? And even as I'm saying it now, it's like I'm not cementing that truth. I'm just saying I know what my behavior has done in the past. Because then the couple of bottles of red, right? Because especially going through a divorce or not seeing your children as much as you want to, or whatever it is, having a couple of bottles of I've said it before, my breakfast juice is red wine, because it just took the edge off, right? And red wine's the average red wine, they call it 14%, 12%, whatever. Don't sue me, alcohol companies. But then what happens then? You're like, a couple of JDs after that, and then you're off. And it's and then you kind of stack days. How many days have I done that?
Yeah.
because I can. Ooh. And then you're in an industry where, it's a thing, it's, but I'm so fortunate to have, and it was an example. You're like, it's even talking to you. It's like, yeah, man, sharp as a tack. It's like, you just don't realize the detriment it has,
everything. You sleep.
You sleep, you have weird dreams.
You'll stay.
Weird dream. And it's not like the cool spiritual dreams where you feel like you can see planet Earth. They're talking to the aliens. It's like, is COVID real? Did you send Cyclone Alfred?
Oh yeah.
Do you have the toilet paper? But it's, you just like alcohol's there's a reason why it steals from your soul. That's 100%.
So you sat down with your son, you had that emotional conversation. I guess to bring back that initial question, fast forward 5-10 years after making that promise to your son and look at him in the eyes, what do you want your daughter and your son to say about you in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I'm so glad you re-asked that. Sorry, we digress on this podcast. I want him maybe later, because it looked like he acknowledged it, he got it, but as he gets older, I want him to know that my dad had the courage to make that choice, because for me and for him and for our family, because it's a hard thing to do, especially if you're relying on it like I was. Like I want him to go, okay, dad made a lot of mistakes. He's not perfect, but he at least had the courage, to turn his life around. And before his 40th birthday, he said to me, he's never going to start, and that stayed with me. And maybe one day down the track, that'll help him with something. Yeah. But it was weird, because it's like, it felt like this big monumental thing. Maybe because when I was sober having these conversations, you start realizing all the stuff you could have done better. All the stuff that wouldn't have happened if alcohol was in your life. And I'm I'm not pissed walking around starting fights, but as well as I do, if you've had a couple of beers on the weekend or whatever it is, or you've been out, or if you've been on a bender, your patience and you're going to be a little bit more edgy. You're not going to be as present. You know what I mean? So I think, with him in particular, and obviously Nevaeh was too young for it, with him, I just hope one day he goes, oh yeah, that was something. That was a lot. For my dad to be crying in the little cafe, in front of a Celebrations bottle shop, it's like saying, I'm never going to touch another drop again. I just hope one day that sort of adds value to his life, for sure.
It's beautiful, man. I mean, I'm really proud of you, brother. And I know so many other people are as well. And I'm damn sure I know your kids are too, man. So it's going to be an amazing journey for you ahead. Absolutely. And so you're off to Europe tomorrow. You're flying for conferences.
Yeah, and sort of some fan activations, and back here for about a month, and I'm off to Fiji for a month to shoot a TV show. So yeah, there's going to be tests and it's going to be busy, but no, it's going to look. I get to spend my 40th birthday in Fiji, so am I going to start complaining? Gets you out of having to do the big shindig and seal the.
Exactly, true. Well, mate, so you're like a fine wine. You're aging like a fine wine. You're in the best shape you've ever been in. Turning 40, shredded.
I wouldn't quite say that, but I'm in a lot better nick than I was a few months ago. We'll say that.
Absolutely, well, man. Well, brother, I'm proud of you. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Breaking the Algorithm, and really excited to see what you do in the future. Not only with Change Labs with me, of course, but in everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, some exciting stuff that I don't want to get sued that I can't talk about, but it's a very exciting time. It's funny how quickly things start turning around. Then when you make these choices, call it God, call it the universe, whatever it is, it was literally within like a couple of weeks that I was getting random film offers and stuff that it's just like, okay.
It's the energy, man.
It's it's scientific fact. Everything is universe is vibration, and just look at all the neuroscience and all that sort of stuff. It's just a fact. Everything's energy, everything's vibration. It's not all woo-woo. So if you want something,
act accordingly. Act like you want it.
If you're, it's like a lot of young actors talk to me and say, look, I want to lead sort of movies and do all this. Okay, cool. Well, that requires a certain amount of discipline. You're working on your accent. Are you doing this? You're acting every day. I get that you're working, it's a hard economic climate. I get it. But at night, instead of just bunging the Netflix on straight away, and this is what I literally do. If I've got, I literally just shot a film on the weekend. I was working on that stuff for like every night. Before the Netflix or the basketball goes on, it was like minimum half an hour just on this scene, minimum. right? And as we get into the lead up, I had the other beautiful actor sort of come over and work at the house, and then we did a Zoom the night before, and boom, and then it's playtime, but that's the preparation people don't see. And not all actors do that, but that's the big thing. And would I do that still in the piss? Maybe not. In fact, I know I wouldn't. I know I didn't put the work effort in. Like, I'll know it because I'm good at learning dialogue and I'm a good actor, and I can not phone this in. And it wasn't quite, I didn't see it as being disrespectful, but I know for a fact, it's like I did not put the work in that I would have if I was sober. And seeing what I'm like now, and ideas, when you're open to this stuff, start flowing in, whether it's a business idea or it's people think we joke having good business ideas when they're on illicit substances. Sure, great. I'm sure that does happen. But how do you execute that in a logical way that's not just, this will be a fucking good idea, let's do this. It's not a car dealer, whatever. Let's get all this stuff from Temu. We'll sell it at the markets, and there's all this stuff. But it's been great. And the cool part is I'm not sitting here, 12 months into this journey. We're sitting here 3 months in this journey. So it's going to be exciting, and we'll sit down again, when I'm a year in, and who knows?
100%.
Yeah.
It's only up for me.
I was starting my own gin company.
That's right. We're definitely not doing that, people. We're definitely not doing that.
Like all the actors.
Maybe a protein brand, supplement brand. Well, we'll see what we
not non-alcoholic Change Labs beer.
That's right.
Green bottle. I'm seeing it now. We'll get the marketing team on it.
Well, my man, it's only up from here. Again, absolute pleasure having you on here, and wishing you nothing but success. If you're watching this and this moved you and you know someone that needs this message, share it with them, because I think what we spoke about today hits home for a lot of people, and I think it's going to be extremely valuable. So,
and I'm also ask for help, reach out. That was always my thing. I'm the oldest of four. I didn't come from a family where we sat around the dinner table and talked a lot. Not that it wasn't a loving house or anything like that. It was just that sort of typical white Anglo-Saxon thing. Dad comes home, have you been naughty? Here's your lashings or whatever. But it was just that, I think. And now, Kat, my little girl's mum, she, her family's they're European. So it sounds like they're arguing, but at least everything's out on the table and they're communicating. So I think that's important.
Yeah. So ask for help, commit to it, enforce discipline, and your life will change. Dan Ewing, it's been a pleasure, my man. We'll see you on the other side.
See you guys soon. Thank you everyone for watching.